I didn't plan to find out the truth that day. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even suspicious. I was just looking for a bottle of Tylenol in our bathroom drawer when I found the folded piece of paper. It wasn't hidden, not really, just tucked between a box of Band-Aids and an expired tube of Neosporin. I almost didn't open it. But something about the way it was folded, like a letter instead of a receipt or note, made my fingers pause. It was a printout of a hotel reservation. One night, a suite at the shoreline downtown, paid in full. I stared at the name, my husband's, Derek Hunter. I remember blinking at it for a long time. I looked at the date, 3 days ago. The same night he said he was working late. The same night he came home with that stupid energy drink in hand and a fast food bag complaining about back-to-back client meetings. I put the paper back exactly where I found it. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask questions. I just stood there, my heart thumping like a warning bell, my hands cold despite the warm steam from the shower still fogging the mirror. For the rest of the day, I played the part. I made dinner. I helped our daughter Margot with her science homework. I folded the laundry and texted my sister Lila like I usually did around bedtime. I didn't mention the paper. Not to Derek. Not to Lila. Not even to myself, really. But that night, while Derek was asleep beside me, breathing deeply like he had nothing in the world to hide, I reached over to his phone on the nightstand. I knew the passcode. Of course I did. We'd been married 14 years. What I didn't know was that I was about to learn two things that would unmake my life. First, Derek wasn't having an affair with a coworker. He was having one with Lila. Second, it had been going on for almost a year. My hands shook as I scrolled through the text. They weren't even trying to hide it. They joked. They shared inside references I didn't understand, photos, plans, little I miss you notes sent while I was putting our daughter to bed, while I was grocery shopping, while I was doing all the invisible things wives do to keep a life standing. I put the phone back down. I didn't cry. Not that night. I lay there next to him staring at the ceiling and I think something inside me snapped. But not in the way you'd expect. I didn't feel rage. Not right away. I felt hollow, like the air had been sucked out of my body and left only this sharp, clean emptiness behind. The next morning, I packed Margot's lunch. I kissed Derek on the cheek before he left for work. I sent Lila a, "You free for coffee this week?" I pretended like nothing had changed because I needed time. I needed space to think. Because this wasn't going to end with me sobbing on the kitchen floor or begging for answers. They broke something in me, and now I was going to break something in them. Here's what you need to know about me. I don't scream. I don't throw plates or storm out or make scenes. I analyze. I study. I memorize patterns. It's why I was always the one people came to when they needed help untangling a mess. My boss, my friends, even Derek once upon a time. So I made a plan. First, I started documenting everything. Every message I could find, every hotel receipt, every timestamp that proved Derek was lying about his whereabouts. I uploaded it all to a private cloud-protected folder. Then I set up a separate email account, one neither of them knew about. I wrote myself notes after every interaction, what Lila said on the phone, how Derek acted when he came home, even what they posted on social media, clues, inconsistencies, anything that felt off. Next, I visited a divorce attorney. Her name was Clarissa. I chose her because she had a reputation for being thorough, unshakable, and frankly a bit ruthless. I told her I wasn't ready to file yet, but I wanted to understand my rights, custody, assets, the house, everything. She gave me a list of things to track, accounts to review, things to avoid saying. She told me, don't let them see you coming. That's where most people lose. And I didn't plan to. Lila and I met for brunch 2 weeks after I found the texts. She looked tired, not guilt-tired, just the kind of tired that comes from juggling too many things. She was always the chaotic one between us, but she had this ability to charm her way out of everything. I used to find it endearing. Now it made my skin crawl. She stirred her coffee and asked, "Is everything okay with you and Derek? You seem quieter than usual." I smiled. "We're good, just the usual routine stuff. Work, Margot, you know." She nodded and took a sip, her eyes darting away like she didn't really want to know. Or maybe she already did. I almost laughed. She had no idea the woman sitting across from her wasn't the sister she thought she could manipulate anymore. I was done being quiet. By the end of that month, I had 3 things ready: a legal file prepared by Clarissa that would blindside Derek in court, a digital folder of evidence proving the affair in detail, a financial audit of our joint accounts, revealing small but significant withdrawals, gifts, dinners, hotel stays, money they thought I wouldn't notice. But that wasn't enough. I didn't just want them exposed. I wanted them ruined. So I turned my attention to Lila's job. She worked in HR at a mid-size marketing firm. Her boss, Helen, and I had met once at a company event. I knew enough about their office culture to know that extramarital affairs involving corporate cards could be a fireable offense, especially if it crossed certain ethical lines. I sent an anonymous tip to Helen. I attached a few screenshots, carefully selected ones that showed Lila discussing business meetings at the same hotel Derek had booked. I didn't say anything more. I didn't have to. A week later, Lila called me, her voice shaking. "I think someone's trying to sabotage me at work. They got an anonymous email. I might be getting audited." I acted surprised. "That's awful. Who would do that?" She had no idea she was pouring her panic into the very person who set it ablaze. The day I served Derek divorce papers, he looked at me like I'd shot him. "What is this?" he asked, eyes scanning the pages. "You know exactly what it is," I said. "And don't bother denying it. I have everything." He tried the usual tactics. He said it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that he and Lila had stopped months ago, that he'd do anything to fix it. I just looked at him. "You didn't just cheat on me. You slept with my sister. You used our money to do it. And then you lied to my face every single day. There's no fixing that." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I handed him the manila envelope and walked out of the room. Let him sit with that. Let him wonder what I'd already set in motion, because I wasn't done yet, not by a long shot. The thing about betrayal is, it keeps echoing. Even after the confrontation, even after the divorce papers, the real damage lingers in the silences. The quiet corners of your mind when no one's watching. When you're brushing your teeth and suddenly remember the way they laughed together in a photo. When your daughter asks, "Are we still going to Aunt Lila's for Thanksgiving?" I didn't cancel Thanksgiving. I didn't need to. Lila did that herself. After the HR investigation at her job started getting serious, she took a leave of absence. That's what she told people anyway. But Helen, her boss, called me personally. I wasn't expecting it. She said, "I don't know what Lila's gotten herself into, but the more we dig, the messier it looks." I kept my voice steady. "I hope she figures things out." But inside, I felt something shift. Not joy, not even satisfaction, just a quiet sense that justice was starting to unfold in layers, like peeling wallpaper to reveal the rot beneath. Derek moved into a 1-bedroom apartment, 5 miles from the house. The judge granted me temporary full custody of Margot while proceedings moved forward. Derek tried to play civil, sending polite texts, asking to see her on weekends. I let him, not because I wanted to, but because I was playing a longer game. See, I knew Derek better than he knew himself. He could fake charm for about 2 weeks, then his real self, impatient, self-centered, careless, would start to seep through the cracks. And it did. Margot came home from one of those weekend visits, asking why Daddy was always yelling at his phone, why he forgot to pick her up from piano, why the fridge was empty except for takeout boxes and beer. I wrote it all down, dates, times, her exact words. Clarissa told me, "You're building a case for full custody, Marley. Keep going." And I did. One night, I opened my inbox and found an email from an unknown address. No subject line. I clicked it. There was just one sentence. "You think you're winning, but we're not done." No name, no signature, but I knew the tone. It was Lila. She'd never been able to stand being outmaneuvered. She was the kind of person who had to be the victim, even when she was the one who lit the match. I didn't reply, but I did forward it to Clarissa. That was the thing. Lila and Derek were still playing the game like it was emotional chess. I wasn't playing anymore. I was documenting, recording, turning every move they made into another stone in the foundation of my freedom. By January, I had enough to file for full custody, primary house ownership, and spousal support on grounds of marital misconduct. Derek was blindsided again. He showed up at my front door, shouting through the screen, asking why I was trying to ruin his life. I opened the door just wide enough to speak. "You ruined it," I said. "I'm just putting things where they belong now." He didn't like that. He stormed off. Margot watched from the upstairs window. Later that night, she asked, "Why is Daddy so mad?" I sat next to her on the bed. "Sometimes people get angry when they lose control." She nodded, small and serious. "Are we okay?" I smiled. "We're more than okay, we're free." Around that time, Lila's social media started to shift. She went from curated brunch photos and motivational quotes to vague captions and black and white selfies. One of her posts said, "Sometimes your own blood betrays you. That's the worst kind." I almost laughed. The woman who slept with her sister's husband was trying to play the betrayed one. Classic Lila. I didn't comment. I didn't text. I just watched her unravel in real time. Her friends, our mutual friends, started reaching out to me, quietly, cautiously. One of them, Julia, sent me a message. "I don't know what happened, but I'm on your side. Whatever you need." I didn't even ask. They were choosing, and it wasn't her. February brought the custody hearing. Clarissa was masterful. She laid everything out with the cold precision of a surgeon. Bank records, text logs, character references from Margot's teachers and pediatrician, even a timeline of Derek's absences and behavior patterns. Lila didn't show. Derek looked like a man who had finally realized the house was burning down and he was the one holding the match. At one point, the judge asked if I had anything to add. I looked at him and said, "I want my daughter to grow up knowing what stability looks like, what integrity looks like. Her father has every right to be in her life, but not at the cost of her peace." The judge nodded slowly. Later, Clarissa whispered, "You just won this hearing with one sentence." When the ruling came in, it was everything I'd asked for. Full custody, sole ownership of the house. Derek was ordered to pay support. Visitation rights required a court-approved monitor for 6 months. I went home and sat on the back porch, watching the wind move through the trees. I should have felt triumphant, but mostly, I felt still. Lila tried calling me that night. I let it ring. Then I blocked her number. I didn't need to hear her version. I already knew how she'd spin it. I was done giving her the chance. The real revenge wasn't the ruling. It was the silence that followed. The life I rebuilt without her in it. The future she couldn't touch. I had taken everything back from them, quietly, legally, permanently, and they didn't even see it coming. I didn't throw a party. I didn't post anything. I didn't tell anyone except my mother that the court decision had come through. Because the win wasn't for show. It was for survival. The next few weeks felt quiet in a way I hadn't known for years. Not peaceful, exactly, but unburdened. No more secrets. No more playing dumb. No more walking on eggshells in my own home. Margot and I started new routines. Sunday pancakes, Saturday bike rides, movie nights with too much popcorn and extra marshmallows. I let her pick the paint color for her room, lime green, even though I hated it, and we painted it together. She smiled more. She slept better. One night she asked if we were normal again. I looked at her and said, "No, we're better." Derek didn't go down quietly. I never expected him to. He filed an appeal, weak, desperate, filled with claims about how I poisoned Margot against him. The judge denied it within a week. Clarissa said it was the fastest denial she'd seen in a year. His supervised visits continued, but Margot didn't want to go. Not after he snapped at her during one of them and the supervisor wrote it up in the report. Eventually, Derek stopped showing up. That was the thing about him. He only fought when he thought he could win. When it got hard, he disappeared. Classic coward. Lila tried resurface in April. She sent a letter, handwritten, pages long. No apology, no ownership, just a long, winding monologue about how she missed her sister, how everything spiraled, how Derek meant nothing, how she'd been confused, vulnerable, emotionally manipulated. I read it once, then I fed it into the shredder piece by piece, watching the blades tear through her words. I didn't respond. That was the only response she deserved. I started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I didn't want to carry their damage any longer than I had to. I wanted to understand why I didn't see it, why I let it happen, why I stayed quiet for so long. The therapist, Camille, was direct and calm. She asked questions no one else had asked me. What did betrayal teach you about yourself? I said that I believed people wouldn't hurt me just because I wouldn't hurt them. She nodded. And what do you believe now? I thought for a while, then said that loyalty isn't a guarantee, it's a gamble. And I've stopped placing bets on the wrong people. By summer, I had started sleeping with the windows open again. It sounds small, but it wasn't. For years, I kept them shut for fear of noise, of arguments carrying into the night, of what the neighbors might hear. Now I let the wind in, the sounds of life outside, cricket, cars passing, children laughing down the block. It made the silence inside feel earned. I saw Derek once in July. Margot and I were at the farmer's market, picking peaches. He was there alone, walking with a half-empty reusable bag in that same slouched posture he always had when he was losing. He saw us, paused, raised a hand halfway. I didn't stop walking. Margot didn't either. She didn't even look at him. Later that night, I got another anonymous message. A different address this time. She lost her job. I hope you're happy. Still unsigned. Still pathetic. I forwarded it to Clarissa. Again, this time I added, do I have grounds for harassment yet? She replied in under an hour. One more message like that and we file. You have more than enough. Lila didn't send another. Of course she didn't. She only acted tough when she thought she could twist the story. Now she had nothing left to twist. She was cut off from my life completely. No phone, no address, no family ties. I had done what people rarely do. I severed her, entirely, and it didn't destroy me. It healed me. The irony hit me one afternoon while I was folding laundry. 14 years of marriage, 2 years of betrayal, 6 months of war, and what finally made me feel whole again was a stack of clean towels and the sound of Margot humming in the next room. That's what they never understood. Revenge doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes it looks like rebuilding. Margot asked about Lila once. Just once. We were in the car, stuck in traffic. She looked out the window and said, "Will Aunt Lila ever come back?" I kept my hands on the wheel, eyes straight ahead. "No, sweetheart, she won't." She nodded, quiet, then added, "Good." That was it. She didn't need an explanation. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. She knew what safety felt like, and she knew who took it away. I never told my mother everything. She didn't need to know the worst of it. Just the truth in broad strokes, that Derek had been unfaithful, that Lila had betrayed me, that I was moving forward without either of them. My mom's only response, "Good, about damn time." She offered to help with anything I needed. I told her we were okay, and we were. Not perfect, not untouched, but okay. I changed my last name back. I know some people think it's symbolic, but for me, it was practical. Derek's name was a reminder I carried everywhere. Doctor's offices, school pickup lists, billing statements. I wanted it gone. I filed the paperwork myself, took the forms to the courthouse, walked out with a new driver's license, and a name I hadn't used in 15 years. Marley Shaw. It felt like taking back something I forgot I lost. By fall, people stopped asking what happened. The whispers faded. Friends stopped tiptoeing around the topic. I wasn't the woman whose husband cheated with her sister anymore. I was just Marley, divorced, stable, raising a smart kid and living in a house she kept. It was enough. More than enough. The biggest surprise came when Margot brought home a note from school. A guidance counselor had pulled her aside to talk about adjusting after family changes. She'd filled out a worksheet. One of the questions, "Who do you feel safest with?" Her answer, "My mom, always my mom." I stared at that paper for a long time, not because I doubted it, but because it confirmed something I hadn't let myself believe yet. I hadn't just survived this. I had done something right, even in the middle of chaos. Even when I felt like I was drowning, I had been her safe place, and nothing they did could take that from me. I sometimes wonder if Derek thinks about what he lost, not just the marriage, but the version of himself he destroyed, the man people respected, the man people trusted, the father Margot used to look up to without hesitation. I don't wonder about Lila. She always thought love was about being chosen, about being wanted, but real love, the kind that lasts, it's about consistency, loyalty, boundaries, and that was something she never learned. I ran into Julia, our old friend at the library in October. She gave me a long hug and said, "I'm sorry it happened the way it did." I smiled. "I'm not." She blinked. "You're not?" "No," I said. "Because now I know who I am without them." And Lila knows what it cost her. Julia nodded slowly, then said, "You seem peaceful." "I am. I meant it." That night, I sat on the back porch again. Same breeze, same quiet, but it wasn't the same me. I thought about everything I'd done, the documenting, the planning, the patience, the precision. People think revenge is rage. It's not. It's clarity. And I had it now, sharp, unshakable, permanent. I didn't plan a speech for the final court review. Clarissa said I didn't need one. "Just answer honestly," she told me. "You've already done the work." Still, I stood in front of the judge, palms steady, voice calm, and said, "My daughter deserves stability. I've given her that, and I intend to keep doing so without disruption, without drama." The judge looked at me, then at Derek, who sat slumped, eyes dull, shoulders drawn in like a man trying to shrink into his own shadow. Ruling upheld. Nothing changed. Everything changed. I celebrated that night by buying a new mattress. Not wine, not takeout. A mattress. I didn't realize how long I'd slept on one that held too many ghosts. I wanted something new, something untouched. I let Margot jump on it the second it arrived. She laughed so hard she fell off the edge and said, "This is the best bed ever." I agreed, not because it was soft, but because it was mine. In December, I got a letter from the school. Margot had written a short essay that won her a spot in the winter showcase. She'd titled it, "The Strongest Person I Know." I didn't cry, not then. I waited until after she went to bed. Then I sat at the kitchen table, under the quiet hum of the fridge, and let the tears come, not because I was sad, but because I finally believed it. She saw me, and she wasn't wrong. Lila tried one more time. A Christmas card. It arrived in a plain red envelope with no return address. Inside, a generic holiday message, her name scribbled next to a note in parentheses. "Hope we can talk in the new year." I dropped it straight into the trash. I didn't even finish reading it. That door was closed, welded shut permanently. The next year, everything settled. No more hearings. No more texts. No more threats. Just life. Quiet. Clean. Hours. I started writing again. Nothing serious. Just journal entries. Half poems. Fragments of thought. One line kept appearing in different forms. "I lost the wrong people and it saved me." And it did. Losing them, Derek, Lila, even the version of myself that once needed their approval, was the most painful, necessary, liberating act of my life. Sometimes people ask me if I'd ever trust again, if I'd love again. And the answer is, I already do. I trust the life I built, the woman I became, the child I'm raising. I love the quiet, the steady, the earned. Everything else is optional. Margot turned 11 this spring. She asked if we could take a trip, just the two of us. We went to the mountains, rented a small cabin, built a fire, ate burnt marshmallows, talked about constellations and middle school and whether cats dream. It wasn't fancy. It was perfect. She looked at me one night, her face lit by firelight, and said, "You're like a superhero, you know." I smiled. "I don't have any powers." "Yes, you do," she said. "You protect people." That was all I needed to hear. That was the real ending, not the courtroom, not the final ruling. This peace, this bond, this life. That's what I fought for, and I won.